Act like you cannot be defeated. The mindset that builds legends.
What if I told you that the greatest threat to your potential isn't failure, but hesitation? That the war you're fighting isn't with the world, but with the ghost of who you used to be, the quiet one, who second guesses himself, who waits for proof, who asks for permission in a world that only respects conviction. You were not born to tiptoe through life hoping not to be broken. You were not wired for softness. You are fire. You are stone. You are the storm that doubt fears in the dead of night. But somewhere along the line, someone told you to shrink, to be realistic, to play it safe, to keep your head down while others rise. And you believed it. But that belief was never yours. It was inherited, installed, passed down from people who never dared to build, only to criticize those who did. So I say to you now, act like you cannot be defeated, not because you're arrogant, but because you've already buried the version of yourself that could be. Because defeat is not the enemy, fear of trying is. Setbacks are not your grave, refusing to rise again is. There is a man inside you, untamed, unbroken, unrelenting. A man who doesn't wait for the world to give him a green light, he builds the road himself. And today that man wakes up. You do not need another sign. You do not need more time. You need a decision. Because destiny bends to those who move with finality, maybe not someday, but now. You must decide who you are and act like it. Not once, not when it's convenient, but every single day, especially when it's dark, especially when no one's watching, especially when the world offers you an exit and you choose to keep going anyway. Understand this, faith is not something you wait to feel. It is something you install, one disciplined act at a time. When Henry Ford said, "Produce it anyway," after failure, it wasn't stubbornness, it was identity. When Lincoln held this country together through a storm of bullets and doubt, he wasn't led by applause. He was led by purpose. You will not build empires with weak thoughts. You will not carve greatness out of comfort. You must walk through fire and like it. Because every minute you spend hesitating, the old voice wins. And you were not born to serve hesitation. You were born to lead yourself through it. So act like you cannot be defeated. Speak like the outcome is already yours. Move like failure was never an option. Because the moment you stop entertaining, plan B, plan A starts working. You want success, then behave like the man success trusts with responsibility. Wake up earlier than you want to. Say no to what's easy. Speak power to your mind before the world feeds it fear. This is how the Titans were made. They did not have more luck, they had more resolve. Edison failed 10,000 times, but each time he said, "I have not failed. I've simply found another way that won't work." That is not optimism, that is obsession. And obsession wins. Obsession rewrites the laws of probability. Obsession ignores the applause and keeps building. You cannot be casual with greatness. You cannot flirt with power. You marry it through commitment, through repetition, through the refusal to negotiate with mediocrity. Stop asking for motivation. Start demanding excellence from yourself. You must become unavailable to your old excuses, unreachable to your former fears, unrecognizable to the past version of you who kept shrinking. You see, doubt isn't something you reason with. It's something you starve. You don't soothe fear. You walk past it, eyes forward, fists clenched one step at a time, until fear forgets your name. And that old voice in your head, the one that says you're not ready, that you're not enough, that you'll fail like last time, answer it with action. Answer it with fire. Answer it with one more rep, one more call, one more refusal to break. Every step forward is a death sentence for the man who lived in doubt. Every disciplined act is a betrayal to weakness. Every bold decision you make tells the world you're not here to visit greatness, you own it. Look around you. The world is filled with people waiting to feel ready, while the rare few move anyway. The masses will stare, they will gossip, they will mock you from the sidelines because your action reminds them of their inaction. But legends are not made in comfort. They're made in the dark. They're made in silence, in empty rooms, filled with belief too loud to ignore. You do not need more likes. You need more discipline. You do not need more followers, you need more inner command. Because when your inner world is ruled with authority, the outer world falls in line. And the day will come not in fireworks, but in a quiet moment when you realize you've become the person no one thought you could be. Not by accident, but by design. Because you decided. You no longer begged for potential. You built it. You didn't wish for greatness. You became it. And that is how you act like you cannot be defeated. There is no lightning bolt of greatness, no sudden surge of magic, only the quiet decision made over and over again that you will not lose to the man you used to be. Greatness is not a reward. It's a requirement for those who see life not as something to survive, but as something to dominate. And domination begins with decision. So hear me. The man who changes his life does not wait for motivation. He builds rituals. He does not rise when he feels like it. He rises when it's time every time. Because the world bends not to emotion, but to discipline. The sun doesn't ask for permission to rise. The lion doesn't seek approval to hunt. So why are you asking the world if you're allowed to be powerful? You've been waiting for signs when all along you were the signal. Power does not knock. It waits for the man who shows up first. Early, prepared, unapologetic. While others stall, you strike. You do not check the temperature of the crowd. You become the fire. Because when you act like you cannot be defeated, your steps change. Your breath deepens. Your voice sharpens. Your vision clarifies. And your posture whispers, I dare you to doubt me now. And yes, you will fail, but you won't stay there. Because failure to you is not an end. It's a signal to evolve, to adjust, to rise smarter, stronger, sharper. Ford was mocked. Edison was doubted. Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Lincoln was crushed by defeat after defeat. But none of them flinched. Why? Because they understood one law. The world bows to the man who never bends to fear. You must decide right now that you are that man. And once you decide, you act, not later, not when it's easy, not when the noise dies down, but now. While the fear is still loud, while the evidence is still missing, while the wounds are still fresh, you lead anyway. Because courage is not the absence of fear, it is the commitment to move despite it. The most dangerous man in any room is not the one with the most talent, not the one with the best plan, not the one with the loudest voice. It's the one who made up his mind and burned the bridge behind him. That man cannot be stopped. That man cannot be bribed. That man cannot be discouraged by failure because he already decided the outcome. He does not hope. He executes. He doesn't flirt with options. He commits. He doesn't talk about goals. He builds them brick by brick while everyone else debates. This is the man you must become. And you do that by choosing to be unavailable to weakness, unavailable to distraction, unavailable to comfort, unavailable to the people who fear your potential and try to shrink your vision. Let them go. Let them laugh. Let them doubt. But never let them lead. Because you are the author now. The pen is in your hand. And the chapter you're about to write has no room for hesitation. You see, there is a frequency to success. And most people never tune in. They're stuck on the station of fear, of drama, of procrastination. But not you. You choose the frequency of decision, of power, of unshakable focus. You become the man whose presence changes the room, not because of arrogance, but because he knows who he is. You become the man who speaks with clarity because his mind is already made up. You become the man whose silence says more than noise ever could, because he no longer asks for belief, he commands it. And let me tell you a truth that most men will never hear. You are allowed to go all in on yourself. You are allowed to shut the door to your past, to reject average, to remove the people who don't understand your fire, to create boundaries like a warrior protects his camp. This is not selfish. This is sacred, because when you protect your vision, you protect your future. So act like you cannot be defeated, not someday, not later, but from this moment forward. Because the greatest battles you will ever fight will be in the silence of your mind, at the edge of your habits, in the darkness of your doubt. And the man who walks through that storm without flinching. So here we are. You standing at the edge of everything you've ever wanted and everything you've ever feared. This is the moment not of glory, not of fame, but of choice. Because no one is coming to drag you to your destiny. No one is coming to crown you king. You crown yourself with discipline, with obsession, with relentless motion, when every part of you screams to quit. This is where the real ones are forged, not in applause, but in the silence after failure. The space between falling and rising. the breath between self-doubt and self-declaration, the decision to stand back up not once, but every time. Because that is where the undefeated are born, in the unseen, in the unheard, in the unshakable. And don't you dare tell me you're not ready. Don't insult the fire that's been burning inside you since the beginning. You were not made to beg for direction. You were made to carve your own. You were not created to coast through life as a shadow of your potential. You were made to stand up in the middle of the chaos and roar back with certainty. The world needs men who remember who they are, not men who blend in, not men who fold, but men who decide that there is no retreat, only refinement. So let me ask you plainly, what are you still waiting for? Another sign, another green light, another push. You don't need more time. You need more fire. You don't need more information. You need a decision. You don't need someone to believe in you. You need to become the person who doesn't require permission. Because the life you want doesn't belong to the man who waits. It belongs to the one who takes action, takes responsibility, takes command of his habits, his identity, his vision, and rewires them with deliberate violence against mediocrity. This is not a self-help mantra. This is not a motivational quote to read and forget. This is a call to war against the old self, against the excuses, against the fragile identity that crumbles under pressure. You must declare mental war on the voice that says, maybe not today. That voice is a liar. That voice is a thief. And every time you listen to it, you delay the life that was already yours to build. Do not tolerate a version of yourself that folds when things get hard. The world respects one thing: execution, results, consistency that does not flinch. So you show up. Tired, show up. Uncertain, show up. Afraid, show up anyway. Because your strength is not proven in how you feel. It's proven in what you do, regardless of how you feel. Discipline is your religion now. Obsession is your oxygen. Vision is your compass. And belief is your weapon. Not soft belief, not wishful belief, but the kind of belief that moves mountains because it never asks for permission. This is what it means to act like you cannot be defeated. Not because you're perfect, not because you don't fall, but because every time you fall, you rise sharper. And every time you rise higher. Until one day you look in the mirror and you no longer see the man who wondered. You see the man who chose, the one who built when others broke, the one who decided when others delayed, the one who moved when others mourned. Because this man made his belief a law. This man made his discipline a destiny. This man made his fire a force. So let this be the moment, the line, the break between who you were and who you now become. No retreat, no excuse, no more conversation with fear. Because your new identity does not debate, it does not hesitate, it executes. So say it with me out loud with fire: I do not bend. I do not wait. I do not retreat. I act like I cannot be defeated. And from this day forward, neither will you.